So I want to talk a little bit about the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. That day changed the United States and the world, and it changed my world completely. The trajectory of my life changed that day. And at that point, I had been in the Army about 11 years when that happened, almost 11 years. And up until that point, I had traveled a lot. I was stationed in Germany and Korea and places like that, but I was never deployed, never any conflict. So my whole the first 11 years of my military career was basically, you know, getting ready for training exercises and the next inspection and PT test and those kind of things, training events. But then on 9/11, I was stationed at Fort Stewart with the 293rd MP Company. And, you know, that day, of course, they had just locked the post down, I think, in June or July. They had just put gates in and started mandating IDs and stuff at the gates. So it was kind of weird because they were prepared for it. But that day, it took some people like 8 hours to get to work because of they were searching every vehicle. And I lived on post, so I was able to get to work, so it wasn't a big a deal for me. But we wound up not doing anything that day. Just everybody was watching the news and trying to figure out what's going on. But very quickly after that, we got notified that we were probably going somewhere. And they didn't know if we were going. They thought that we might be going to Ground Zero in New York to help out there. And then they said we might be going to Washington, D.C. to help out there. We didn't know. I remember we did a packing list and laid everything out and got all our bags packed that next weekend. I think it was on Saturday after the September 11th, the Tuesday. So we knew we were probably going somewhere, and we knew it was going to be on a short shoestring when we left. And then it came down, I believe it was the 19th of September. The 19th of September, we were just at work, you know, preparing to possibly leave soon. And they called us all up to the oiler room and briefed all the supervisors that we were leaving that night at 11 o'clock. 12 hours from when they were telling us we were leaving. So we immediately got going, we got soldiers' POVs locked in the motor pool. We inventoried soldier stuff in the barracks and sealed wall lockers and just doing all the things we had to do to deploy literally in 12 hours. And we were getting brand new up-armored Humvees. We were scheduled to get them like a month away. And they were gonna be transporting our trucks up there on back of flatbed trucks. And they're basically going with us on flatbed trucks. And I remember going over to the new equipment site to see if there was a way for them to rush as many of those up-armored Humvees to us that day. This is like 12 o'clock. We're leaving that night. Anyway, we were able to get it. I think we got 29 of the 44 Humvees that we had. 29 of them were up-armored. We were able to get the new ones and load it on the trucks, on the back of trucks. And anyway, that night, around 11 o'clock, we did a little quick goodbye ceremony with our family and got on buses, and they took us to Washington, D.C., to where the Pentagon, to do the Pentagon. And the MPs in the unit were going to be there helping out with the entry control points around the Pentagon. That's what the mission was going to be. So anyway, we drove. They drove all night. It took us a long time to get there. Several buses, and they put us up in some barracks on Fort Myer, right outside of Arlington. And I remember we got there on the 20th of September, so 9 days later. And they told me to get back on the bus and go back to Fort Belvoir where the trucks were going to be offloaded. And I needed to take enough drivers to drive all the trucks up to Fort Myer. So we loaded on buses and went down to Fort Belvoir, which is about 30 minutes away. And they pulled all the trucks, all the Humvees off of the back of the flatbed trucks, and we sat there, and I was a staff sergeant, maintenance supervisor, but the police that was going to be escorting us into Washington, D.C. Came to me and asked me what time they needed me to close the traffic in Washington, D.C. Basically at rush hour. So at that time, I remember feeling like a pretty important staff sergeant when I was able to decide what the traffic in D.C. was going to be shut down. But that trip from Fort Belvoir up to Fort Myer, again, about a 30-minute trip, and that's basically you're driving into D.C. in up-armored Humvees. And, you know, the police and state troopers, and they had all the traffic stops so we could go through. And people were on the side of the roads cheering on bridges. I mean, it was such a proud moment to be, you know, we were coming in there like heroes. It's the way it felt. You know, it kind of tugged at you a little bit. And anyway, it was a pretty good feeling, and we got everything settled, and we got set in, and the MPs started doing the guards around the entry control points, and we spent 7 months in Washington, D.C. right there after September 11th. And I remember that night after we drove all the trucks there, one of the trucks had broken down that night. That's when some of the guys were doing recon and figured out what was going to have to be done at the Pentagon. And they woke me up. And I had to grab my soldier and the wrecker and go pick up the truck. And that's the first time I saw the Pentagon on fire. And it was still, where the truck was broke down was facing that side of the building, and there was still smoke coming out of it. And they were still pulling people out. You know, they were pulling people out for a couple of weeks, I believe. It was a while. Anyway, that's just my story. And you know, after that, I wound up going to Afghanistan later in 2003, and I was on Bagram Air Base, and then I went to Iraq 3 times. So the last 10 years I was in the Army was not like the first 11 years. I was going all over the place. I spent 48 months over in the Middle East on 4 different deployments. I was there during the surge. Earned 2 Bronze Stars, Combat Action Badge, and you know, just not really bragging, but you know, I'm proud of my service and proud of the things I was a part of something bigger than myself, and it obviously changed my life, and you know, it changed my family's life. You know, my kids didn't see me as much as they would have, and just the whole trajectory of my life changed on September 11th. And I remember my son, when he was, this would have been in 2011, when he was 10 years old, 10 or 11 years old. He asked me, and it surprised me, he said, "Hey Dad, I know 9/11 was a big deal, but what really happened?" And it shocked me that he didn't know, because I just thought it was common knowledge. But if you think about it, right now, somebody that's 25 years old that doesn't remember that, all they did was hear about it. And my son, who was greatly affected by it, his mom deployed a lot, I deployed a lot. He went to live with my mom a couple of times because we were both deployed. For him not to understand what actually had happened, and that we hadn't explained it to him, because I guess you just think they know. They don't know. They don't know exactly, and so make sure you take that into account when you're talking to people about it. Take into account their age, and there's a lot of people that just don't remember what happened. It's that long ago. And that my youngest son, the one that asked me that, is in Kuwait right now, He's in the Army station at Fort Stewart and in Kuwait. So, you know, he's still a part of this whole thing, and it's something he don't even remember. Anyway, I just thought I'd come on and say something about 9/11 as a, you know, as a day. It's a big day. It's a impactful day. I remember how proud this country was after that. That's the last time we were probably all together. I don't want this video to be political, so I'm trying not to get into that. But it was a tragic event, but it brought this country together at that time, and we were all on the same page. I kind of miss that. Anyway, that's my story on 9/11. I'm sure there's countless others. There's people that did a lot more than I did, so I'm not trying to, you know, not trying to claim something here. Just saying this is how it affected my life, and it was, you know, 9/11 was a major event for this country and for me personally. So, and a lot of others. So, anyway, I just thought I'd come on and say something about it. Make sure you remember 9/11. Make sure you talk to people about it tomorrow, and, you know, share your stories, because those things are important. Anyway, thanks for watching.